I guess I'm a little surprised to have our second one in the middle of a school year that doesn't complete the year. Is there anything moving forward that we can do contractually to avoid such a disruption like this?
You could reach out to the union and potentially discuss a sidebar.
Okay.
I know the co-op district actually has a policy regarding it.
Okay.
So we could bring that to a meeting, to policy committee to look at that and see if it's something Brookline would like to do as well.
Okay. I would advocate for that. I think my time is short, but these fairly disruptive to have that. Okay, I guess we have to vote on it. Is there any other questions or comments?
No, I mean, it's a huge loss, and it's very disheartening. So I'm really disheartened by it. Yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
I'm not in favor of it.
Opposed? Okay, so 2-2 on that one.
The second one is from Karine Noel. You may be aware that Karine has been out on a maternity leave. And I feel as though, she states, I feel as though I have come to a crossroads in my life. On one hand, I have my career path and professional job that I not only love, but one I feel is meant for me and I excel at. The other is an opportunity to have time at home with little ones while they are still so young. This has been a choice that has weighed heavily on my mind for the past few months, and I feel like I have finally come to the decision that is best for my family. With the heavy heart, I will not be returning to RMMS as a case manager at the end of my maternity leave. I considered returning part-time, but due to the cost of childcare as well as health insurance increase, it is not financially feasible for my family at this time. Please know that this decision has been extremely difficult. I not only consider teaching as a career, but as part of my identity. The staff I work directly with at RMMS feel like family and truly are some of the best people I have had the pleasure of working with. The admin who works in the building have been nothing short of supportive and encouraging, which is another factor that made this decision so hard. I look forward to returning to teaching in the future, but currently need to consider what is best both for the care of my little ones and financially. I hope this letter of resignation is met with understanding and that this is not an easy decision. I have gained so much professional and personally during my years at RMMS that I will be forever grateful for my time there. And again, that is from Karine Noel. She's a third grade case manager at RMMS.
Do we know when the end of maternity leave is, or do we have to just
January 17th.
January 17th. Thank you. Okay, so I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Karine Noel as a case manager at RMMS with an effective date of January 17th, 2024.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any feedback here?
Just like to congratulate her on the birth of her child and wish her the best of luck. I think it's a hard choice that many working mothers have to make. I think it's a hard choice that many working mothers have to make, and I appreciate the difficulty that probably went into that decision, but I applaud her decision.
Yeah, I just want to say too, both of these resignations, I just wish that maybe there was something more that we could have, if there's anything more that we could have done, right, to support a working mom that has come back. It's just, I think across the country, there's more probably that we could do as, not to make commentary, but I think it's something we all face, and if there was anything more that we could have done for Mrs. Quinn, it's just disheartening, so just sad that we couldn't do something more to have her stay throughout the year. So that's it.
Yeah, I guess on this one I feel a little differently. The other one was pursuing a different opportunity. This one I'm certainly more understanding and supportive of. With respect to Mrs. Quinn, I guess I struggle with that because we started with a signed contract at the beginning of the year, and that's a decision to go pursue a different opportunity. So I don't know. Okay. All those in favor? Okay. So that passes 4-0.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna add in, or no, we're gonna do approval minutes, and we talked about adding some additional here. So the first, I'll make a motion to accept the December 12th, 2023 amendments as amended, which means page 1, line 21, show Finance Committee member Koenig as absent.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? 4-0, okay. January 10th, so Kelly, you're gonna have to abstain on these. Okay. So the following amendments were offered for the January 10th meeting with the Brookline Finance Committee. Page 1, line 21, replace present with absent. Page 4, line 17, insert what before it has. Page 5, line 5, correct the spelling of meeting. Page 6, line 38, replace the with them. Page 9, line 33, delete and before which. Page 9, line 36, replace the period with a comma following again. So I'll make a motion to accept as amended.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Abstain? Thank you. 301. Next is our public hearing on January 10th. And the following amendments were offered. Page 3, line 18, replace FY2 with FY24. Page 10, line 39, correct the punctuation. So I'll make a motion to accept as amended.
I'll second that.
All in favor? 3, abstain? 1, thank you. So that's 301 there as well. And we are on to our public input. So we will open public input at 6:09 for anyone interested. All right, seeing none, we will keep it open until 6:39 and move on to our principal's report.
Okay, good evening. Our enrollment in Brookline has stayed the same from last month. And just a couple highlights for RMS. Our kindergartners recently participated in a Beaver Brook in-house field trip. Students were learning about animal migration, hibernation, and adapting with seasonal changes. And Beaver Brook did a wonderful job doing their animals in winter program, and it was very well received. So there's a picture in our principal's report of students enjoying some of the pelts there. And then also on our principal's report, we have it titled as RMS Reading Buddies. Our kindergarten students and our second grade students partner together at various points throughout the year to either read together or do projects together. And our first grade and third grade students partner together as well. Currently, they're doing reading buddies and doing activities just to get to know each other. It's a great opportunity for our younger students to have a peer role model to look up to, and also an opportunity for our older students to be a leader for some younger students, and they really enjoy that time together. In March, we are having our STEM night at RMS, and students will be designing leprechaun traps with their reading buddies, so that'll be a night, I believe we have it scheduled for March 14th. It's a Thursday night. You all have a free invitation to come. And it will be a great night to come check out the work that they do together.
And at CSDA, we just are wrapping up the Ames Web winter testing. So we'll be making any completions for makeups by the end of this week. And next week during the early release, we will be providing some professional development for the staff to go over the data to see how they can use that, best use it to support each individual's needs, and also see where the areas of student strengths. And in the pictures here, we have Principal for the Day. So if some of you will remember, the PTO sponsored the golf tournament, and Mr. Molinari and I offered to have principals for the day. And I had 2 students at my school. Unfortunately, one of them was sick, so I said, well, we'll do it again in February. But here we have Principal for the Day. This is Hunter Loff. And he got all excited for it, and he got all dressed up in his fancy suit there, or a suit jacket. And I had my ugly sweater on for the day. And basically, one of the things that we did for the day is I created a hot chocolate bar, and we went to all of the classrooms to provide hot chocolate for the teachers during their day. And we also got to visit, as well as the rest of the building. They had a tour of the Grade 5 Social Studies Museum. students were doing projects and presentations on various explorers that came to North America. And here is a group of students showing their project on Henry Hudson. And if you can zoom in there at all, they really were very artistic as far as their creations, making all these little boats and things out of paper and popsicle sticks, and very creative. So they did a great job, and we had a great outpouring of parents attending as well.
The other one's probably closer.
Sorry?
That microphone.
That works. Okay, so at last month's meeting, we shared that we will be providing a social emotional learning update for the progress that we're making in our district. As you can see in our opening slide, we have some third graders doing a third grade skit for social emotional learning. They did a skit, I believe it was on either teamwork or working together. And that was after a tiger had come to present to our school. And then over here we have our blue jay and our wolf. So moving on. You want to come up here, Mrs. Boulay? Or you want me to just fly through it? I can.
That's all right.
All right. So we're going to take you through our year so far. This summer, our teachers, we have a teacher from each grade level at both RMS and CSDA who met over the summer to discuss social emotional learning and our multi-tiered systems of supports, MTSS. And during those meetings, we developed updated charts that we have at both RMS and CSDA for expectations school-wide, for the hallways, for recess, in the classroom, cafeteria, buses, etc. We also worked on our responsive classroom model and what that looks like during morning meetings. We have implemented school-wide assemblies at both RMS and CSDA. And we've implemented and continue to implement, and we've done this for the last couple of years, PAWS awards right here and Blue Jay awards for catching students that are doing well with our school-wide expectations. And all of our grade levels have implemented tiger themes each month in the classroom. Do you want to cover this up?
So basically, our current work is really to cultivate a community of respect using both responsive classroom and the Turbo Tiger strategies. We, as Dan had mentioned, we had the Tiger performances come to both of the schools. They have a program for K through 6. And then at CSDA, we continued something that we worked with the UNH Brown Center, and we had them this year come to our school. And they worked with each grade level. They had counselors that basically teaching them, what does respect look like? How do we show empathy? All the criteria that we're really looking for to be an outstanding student and citizen. We're also looking at data. Basically, data is helping us to support and determine what are the tier 2 and tier 3 interventions that we need to support the children's needs on an individual basis, but we're also looking at what are those trends that we may be seeing within the school system. Things to note, we have history projects in grade 5, heritage projects in grade 3. So again, we're working with students and teaching them how to work cohesively and collaboratively with others. Lunchroom behaviors, we have seen a major decrease as far as any behavior problems resulting in those areas. And overall, I think the environment has improved. Assemblies, we have students performing skits, things that we've done in the past, but now we're making sure that we're trying to get them more involved with our assemblies. And also we're ensuring that we're providing those positive awards, and we're making sure that we're sharing that at the assemblies so the whole school body is seeing what great work individuals or groups of students are doing, and that they can be used as working as role models for the rest of the population. And students are using the responsive classroom language to remind one another about what the expectations are, not just in our classroom, but in the hallways and throughout our day in school.
With respect to the lunchroom, do you attribute that to the program, or have we done something else differently with more presence or something too that's helped with it? I'm curious because you highlighted that, so I'm just curious if anything jumped out.
I think part of it is the development of when we looked at what are the areas, we looked at areas of concern, and the lunchroom is definitely
Yep.
one of them. So I think the fact is that we started the school year with our assemblies giving specific expectations. We have those signs, whether it's in the hallway or in the cafeteria, the expectations are posted, and we're able to remind them. And when we have our assemblies, we're able to remind them as far as, making sure this is our community, we're all a part of it, and these are the expectations. So I think, and they understand what the expectations are.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
Would you like questions now or at the end?
Could we just hold it to the,
Uh-huh,
that'd be good. Because some of the other slides might
Answer.
filter into each other. We surveyed our staff at the mid-year point just to get some results of how things are improving and teacher input. One of the questions that we've asked were, have you observed any positive changes in student behavior or classroom dynamics since the implementation of the responsive classroom morning meeting? And those are the results we have. So out of 30 responses, 66.7% responded yes, 26.7% were not sure, and then a small piece of that pie was a no. So,
Is this both schools combined?
yes. I'll do the first one, just because I have a number. For next steps, we are looking into, and we shared this at the last meeting, the introduction to responsive classroom. It's a one-day training for staff. I know we were talking about what that would cost. We were able to get some recent quotes. We're looking at, just under about roughly $8,000 to have a one-day training for staff. And we're also getting quotes on the 4-day training.
And ultimately, we want to have all of the teachers fully trained and invested in this program. And ideally, also then have train the trainer. So that way, we will be able to do in-house training moving forward. And right now, obviously, some of the constraints would be funding, and as well as available full-day professional development time. We have a lot of curriculum work that's being done that's necessary. So unfortunately, we're also going to be fighting for the time in our calendars.
And then we have a behavior report comparison for both buildings. It's probably a little small on this for you to read from there, but you might have this in your board reports. But just to give you the totals, last year at RMS, we had approximately 166 incidences. This is by December. And then bus suspensions, we had around 14. This year, at the end of December, we had a total of 117 incidents, bus suspensions 8. And then when looking at that data, I think something else to note is, obviously you have staff that have different tolerance levels for behavior. There's also different cohorts of groups. But there's also a lot of students that are doing the right thing too. Sometimes, when you look at this data, you're like, oh wow, there's 166 students that are committing this incident. It's not always the case. When you look at all the incidences at RMS last year, that represents 16% of our population of students. So 84% of the students are doing what's expected. If you look at this year's incidents, if I look at the students involved, we're looking at 11% of the students. So we've seen a nice decrease of students with the interventions we put into place, the expectations, how we work with the students. So it's a nice improvement, some growth. Certainly it's a halfway point, but just to give you a perspective of the growth that we're making.
And the same with CSDA. Last year, we had, at this time frame, approximately 111 incidents with 7 bus suspensions. And this year, moving forward, we have had 46 incidents and 3 bus suspensions.
Wow.
Last year for CSDA, it was approximately, I think it was 16.2%. And at this point right now, as far as the percentage of students. And this year we're at 12.2%. So we are definitely seeing significant, decline as far as incidents and behavior situations. And I think also because the expectations, I don't want to say I drilled into, but, we're having that consistency throughout the building, in the classroom, wherever a student is, an adult is addressing any situations that may arise so that we're able to identify what the problem may be, how, a child can rectify it, but also how he or she can move forward in making sure that they're making better choices.
And so, just to clarify, incidences are students,
No.
or incidences are reported behaviors.
Reported behaviors.
So I think what they're trying to say with the percentage is of the
So-
111 at CSDA year 1 could be the same students with multiple incidents.
Yeah, exactly, yeah,
Yes.
right. So for instance, last year we had 335 students in the building, 54 students counted towards those instances, so that's where I get those numbers, so.
Makes sense.
So to Gina's point, one student could have had 17 incidences, right, but it's. So when you look at it, there's 84% of students that aren't getting any behavior issues, so. And this year it's just even better, it's 89% of our students are doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's great. I
So-
thought the buses would be higher based on
So those are bus
the
suspensions?
world I live in. Okay.
Those are bus suspensions?
Okay.
Doesn't mean we don't have.
Bus is a whole nother world.
Okay.
It's a whole nother world.
Bus culture. Bus culture. I'm telling you.
But these instances also include bus
Yeah.
reports.
Right.
We're just trying to show bus suspension.
Yeah.
so.
No, I got you. Yeah. Thanks.
And again, the bus drivers, just like the teachers, everyone has different tolerances.
Mm-hmm.
And so that also results on the number of bus write-ups.
And then I also want to share too, Colleen and Tracy, you reached out about being part of this, so when we do have a future meeting, you're absolutely going to be part of that.
Oh, great. Thank you.
But like I said, our future steps are to look at getting the training for the responsive classroom. That's where our teachers are really looking to do. So.
I think
So-
the data is super helpful, so I appreciate it. It
Yeah.
shows that the staff are very happy, generally speaking, and also seeing an improvement with the responsive classroom. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's their world, and they're choosing it, and they're seeing it work. So
yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of positive results with the responsive classroom, what we did this summer, and also with Tiger.
Right.
That was just,
All together.
there was a lot of buy-in with Tiger, and there's a lot of great resources, so we've seen some success with that too, so. And Tracy, I'm sorry that I put off your question to the end, but did you have a question?
No, a couple. You called out the lunchroom, which I thought was great because that was one of the things I think we had mentioned the other report. But and then we also talked about the bus. I was just wondering if, if you were seeing anything in the bus, if we were able to do anything in terms of bus behavior. I know that is a
Sure.
big concern for a lot of us.
So the first thing both Trish and I would want to say too is we also want to thank the teachers for their efforts. They've done an outstanding job. It takes a lot of work on top of their planning already with curriculum to also implement social emotional learning because you're dealing with a lot of different personalities. So the teachers are doing a phenomenal job. We're also very lucky to have the bus drivers that we have because there's a lot of districts out there that are still struggling to get bus drivers, and we are staffed and our bus company does a great job. We also appreciate their communication. Whenever there's a bus incident, either Trish or I or our other administrators will reach out, ask to watch video. If there's video footage, sometimes there's not, depending on the bus. Sometimes there is. But they're always very receptive to help us out, figure out what happened. You know, like we said earlier, every teacher has a different tolerance. The different bus drivers have different tolerances. The bus is a separate entity. They work with us, but the bus company controls their drivers and move drivers to where they need to be. But when there is a bus incident, how we deal with it is we look into the situation further, we investigate it, we talk to all the students involved, and a lot of times it results in moving seats. It results in students being taken off the bus. It also results in different pathways where they'll either meet with the administrators, they'll meet with the guidance counselor to also work on scenarios of how we could have handled this situation better. All of our buses, when we assign seats at the beginning of the year, all the students in kindergarten in the front, and then it goes by grade level. So first is right behind kindergarten, and it goes all the way through sixth grade. We don't want our second graders in the back of the bus with fifth and sixth graders, so that all goes by grade level. But there are some buses where we've had to move seats quite a few times, and it's to the point where now we're moving seats where those students are now going back to the seats where they originally started. So you can only move so many seats, and you can only move a kid off the bus for so many days. But in the end, we're trying to coach students through being safe on the bus, keeping your hands to yourself, staying straight, keeping straight, listening to the bus driver, and teaching them that when you ride the bus, it's very similar to how you ride the car with your families, you know. So, and all of those result in a phone call home. So we talk about those plans with the parents as well. So, do you want to-
Yeah, actually, I was just going to say, I think that's also what's helped is that we've really had the support of the parents. That if an issue is occurring, and, you know, we investigate it, sometimes there are questions, and sometimes we find out we have to make a phone call back and say, oh, we saw a little different thing happening. But everything's been positive. And, you know, I think the big message is to everyone is that, you know, we're always here, but we're here to work as a community. We're here for the same purpose. Our goal is to support each and every individual to whatever that student needs. And I think parents realize that, you know, we're all on the same team, and that's the most important thing.
So the incidents, do bus incidents roll into RMMS incident? The 166 are 146 of those bus related, and 20 are in the lunchroom, and that's your pie chart.
Are you talking about this chart right here?
Yeah, so like RMMS 20, we'll go to 23, 24. I should look. So there's 117. Of those 117, I'm being facetious, but is 100 from the bus and the others?
Yeah.
I would say for buses, there's at least, I don't know, I'd say it's half.
But it rolls into that. That's
It rolls
all I was
into it.
getting at.
It's,
Yeah, okay, got
it's
it.
half. I mean, a lot of mornings it's till 10 o'clock dealing with buses.
I believe it.
So,
I believe it.
yeah.
Tracy, you had more questions?
A couple. We looked at metrics for tier 2 and tier 3, I think you said, but we had also been interested in tier 1. You know, that was something that we really wanted to look at in terms of supporting every student, right? Just wondering where we could pull some data for tier 1 and really like kind of what we were, is, you know, kind of responsive classroom, morning meeting, like what else were we doing kind of to support all of the students? So that we don't move up to tier 2, tier 3, right? I think we had talked about that.
That's a great question. I think we can pull something together. We've done a lot of work with MTSS this year. We'd have to look at how we would pull that to compare apples to apples.
So I would say that what they just described was tier 1. That's what all
Yeah,
students are receiving. The Tiger, they're all receiving the UNH at CSDA grades 4, 5, and 6. They're all receiving those school-wide expectations,
Yes.
those classroom meetings, but also the school-wide meetings. That's tier 1. The tier 2 and tier 3 pop in when those aren't enough.
Right, the data that we're looking at is in those incidents, that chart. We're taking that chart from this year, looking at the incidents that are occurring, and how can we craft tier 2 supports for individuals or groups of those students that are having some of these behaviors that still exist with those tier 1 pieces of expectations and responsive classroom and such, so that we can develop appropriate interventions with other staff, groups of students, et cetera, to tackle those incidents to be able to decrease that even further.
Right, and I really need the number, like, I really need the percentage of students for these incidents, if you don't mind, like, what percentage of students, if you don't mind?
That's the one we
Right.
said earlier.
Right, right.
Those are the ones-
like-
Last year, it was 16% of our population. This year, it's 11% of our population.
Okay.
That had an incident.
And then what percentage would you say are repeats? Like of this 16% and of this 11%?
So are you saying like, there might be, in that
Like-
60%, one student had one incident?
Right,
Incident.
right,
Other students might have 17.
right, right,
That's something we can look back into.
right.
We can
And
certainly
then
do that.
what of these percentages are tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3? Like what, like that would be really interesting too.
So what do you, so can I just clarify that? So let's say the percentage for Dan's school right now is 11% behavior, so 89% would be the students who are only accessing tier 1 supports. That 11%, we're gonna need to analyze what those incidents are and then decide what fraction of those students need tier 2 next level support and then which ones still need like extra support. So that 11% will be broken up into that tier 2 and tier 3.
Yep. And then I just kind of want to see how much time we're spending on, behavior incidents for that 11%. Like, are we maximizing our resources and our time, for the 11%? Like, I just want to make sure we're maximizing our time and our resources, right? For that 89%, right? Is Tiger, is morning classroom, because 30% of the teachers said that they weren't sure if responsive classroom was giving them the right result. And so I just want to make sure that if that's what we're doing for 89% of tier 1 students, that that's the right thing for them.
Those are great questions, and I would also say too, I think some of that unsureness that the teachers shared, it's also that we're in month 6, right, of the year. So a lot of times it takes time to implement the program. We haven't implemented the entire Tiger program, so we would also need to get more information from that too. I think that's where that's coming from.
Can I ask, how many staff, this N of 30, what is the denominator for that? Like, I understand Tracy's question, but when I look at 30 teachers filled out the survey, and if you have 30% of
Right,
those,
but they're
it's
the
not-
most engaged,
Right,
right?
I'm just saying this is not it's not pertinent. I don't want to say pertinent, but it's not like a statistically significant response. Like, what's the denominator for 30 responses? Like, if you combined the staff at both schools?
I have to look back at who it was shared out with. It was shared at both staffs.
Yeah.
Do you remember if it was all classroom teachers? It was all classroom teachers, case managers, specialists.
How many staff members is that approximately?
It's 30.
Well,
30
we have
responded.
67 staff at RMS, but they're not all classroom teachers.
Right. So if it
So,
was all staff, if
Yeah.
you have 67 at RMS and, I don't know, 67,
Yeah.
it'd be like 140.
yeah, it's a great question. I really don't know because we didn't collect their email addresses.
Yeah.
We just wanted to get some input just to
Right.
have
I'm
a data
just saying,
point.
like,
But
But 30 responses is not. out of-
but I would say if it's classroom teachers, we have 20 at RMS, and you've got 15. So that's
35.
It's pretty close. So
So if it was
if you're looking at
staff,
classroom
yeah.
teachers, who I would assume are the ones that are implementing this.
Yeah, I
The-
guess it would be
yeah.
interesting to know,
Mhm.
like, the pie chart's a nice pie chart, but unless we know, like, the survey was sent out to all teachers with an N of 45, then 30 out of 45 is a good response. If
Yep.
it was sent to case managers and, other staff, teaching assistants, et cetera, and the N's much higher.
Right, but
then-
I think you'd have to look at what the question was, right? Like, the question
mean-
was, is this good for your classroom, right? I would assume.
And I think the work that we do as a SAL committee this summer and MTSS, we're going to look more into this so we can further prepare for next year. So.
I'm in.
Yeah, I think the data's great. I also resonate that we're the first year in, halfway through the year, so a lot to be learned still. Anecdotally, I'm encouraged to see some stats going down, but to hear teachers are engaged and the feel sounds like you feel like we're starting to see some momentum there, which is encouraging. This is a many-year thing, so here we go. I guess my only other thought too, you mentioned on slide 7, one slide back, about the 4-day training and finding time. I'm a little, I guess I would advocate maybe we can come up with a creative way to do that in the summer and just in advance of starting school and pay the teachers for that, but so it doesn't impact students throughout the school year, and it's a win-win, as opposed to trying to piecemeal it throughout multiple days throughout the year. But I don't know what the curriculum looks like that, but typically these curriculums build on each other day after day, so having it straight might be good, but we can't be out of school for a week for the teachers to do that training too. So that's just me thinking out loud.
I would just say too, that if the funding is a constraint, I know we're kind of past our discussion, but that we would want to talk about that right away so we can fix that for next year. Because obviously the data is showing a positive response in discipline incidents, but it's also really important that, over 66% of the staff feel that the student's behavior is better, which then impacts climate, which helps them. I mean, there's nothing worse than not feeling like you have control of a classroom or that you have support for behaviors. So in both those ways, this is so important. So having this data now and seeing how impactful it is, I would definitely want to support whatever the staff feels that they need, or you feel that the staff need.
And it's not too late, right? We haven't signed the warrant articles yet, so I think now's the time, if you have that information. And I think, listening to, you describe what we all know, right? That each staff person has a different tolerance for different behaviors, and I think, how great it would be then to have everybody on the same page, and so I think if you have that data, when we get into the discussion about the warrant articles and the budget, now's the time to try to finalize, if we can put that money in for this training, which seems to be working, then I'd be all for that.
I will interject that they don't know this yet, but I have grant funding to cover the training for the full staff. So they were unaware, and yay!
She just got an email just now.
Great.
So we will be
amazing.
certainly implementing the one-day training for the full staff. I hear you, Ken, about making sure that if we do a 4-day training, we do it appropriately
Yeah.
with as minimal disruption as possible. For that training, we were looking at training 2 individuals. And ideally, yes, it would be during the summer, but certainly we can't require that. So we'll look into that to make sure that we do it in the way that makes most sense.
I guess that makes sense, because that's not impactful to the entire student base then. But then the advanced core training, where they train the trainer, or at some point they pass that knowledge on, right? So that.
Yeah, and
so
that's the intention,
handoff.
that train the trainer, so that when, if and when we bring in new teachers next year, that individual would be stipended to do that instruction.
Yep,
So that everybody starts off year 1 in the same place.
great.
This is great work, thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
We
Absolutely.
appreciate all the teachers' time too, and all your time.
Okay, thank you again. I'm just getting over to, okay, so we are in our discussion section now, and, I'm sorry? 6:39 is passed, public input is closed. I also, Dawn, for your record, Allison came in at 6:23, so we can mark that. Okay. Bear with me for a second here. All right, so yeah, we're reviewing the articles for the deliberative session, so that's coming up on the 9th, I believe?
7.
The 7th, thank you.
In your board packet, Kelly Seeley, the business manager, put the 2024 warrant article. February 7th is deliberative session, and March 12th is all-day voting. Article 1 is the election of officers. Article 2 is the BESA support contract. Article 3 is the operating budget. Article 4 is the SAU budget. Article 5, just to clarify, because we had a little conversation at the public hearing about this, the words should say vote to raise and appropriate, even though the sum of the money is coming from a surplus. If the money was returned, there would be a reduction to the tax rate. So Kelly had that reviewed by legal, so that Article 5 is written as it appeared the night of public hearing and is the correct wording. Then we have Article 6, which is a petition warrant article, and that is to prevent the lobbying of funds. Article 7 is a petition warrant article. It's the provisions of RSA 198:20-B, unanticipated funds made available during the year. That's just requiring a board hearing. Article 8 is a petition warrant article. It is to rescind the authorization under RSA 184:B, Roman numeral 2, so that we can no longer retain any unassigned general funds at the end of the year. Article 9 is a petition warrant article, which is asking us to cease the funding for social emotional learning, which we just had a presentation on. So I think hopefully people have a better understanding what that concept is. And Article 10 is a petition warrant article, RSA 194-C:1, create a planning committee to study the advisability of the withdrawal of the Brookline School District from SAU 41 in accordance with RSA 194-C:2, Roman numeral 4, for its organization, operation, and control, and the advisability of constructing, maintaining, and operating a school administrative unit to serve the needs of the Brookline School District. Each of the articles has the votes from the school board, and where appropriate, the finance committee. We did have the petition warrant article on Article 10, because as the board may recall, it required a separate public hearing, which was held on Monday night. And that has been completed now, and those minutes were sent to Dawn. And that is a review of the article, and that will be the article that will be coming forward for deliberative session on February 7th.
Okay, so to the board, are there any questions with respect to the process now at this point when we move forward?
Did we already vote on these articles?
So we will after the deliberative session then, technically, right?
No,
we
No,
already did.
we did.
We did vote,
Yeah,
yeah, we're voting right in here, yeah. And
Last-
then,
Okay, so then the counts aren't right if I wasn't at the public hearing.
The counts only reflect
Four.
four.
Okay, so, okay.
And
Would I
the-
be an abstention or no, or just?
You just weren't present.
You weren't present.
Perfect, got it.
And then to the other question for the board members, the articles that are being put forward by the board, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, we have historically divided those up, and I didn't know if people wanted to discuss that now so that you know which one you were presenting, and we could provide any backup material that you may wish to have from either the SAU or from Kelly. So is there anybody interested in Article 2, which was the Besser?
I can do that one because
Okay.
it's part of the negotiations.
Article 3, which is the operating budget?
so just a reminder, I'm not here, so I'm not volunteering for anything because I won't be here.
Historically,
So I know that's like, oh, wow, that's
Probably be
great.
me, because I'm the budget person,
Yeah.
right? But I have sat through one of these in town before, so I think I'm a little gun shy to be like, hey, yeah.
Well, historically, I've done the budget.
Okay,
So
good.
if that's okay with the board, I will continue to do that one.
I hear it.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Article 4, which is the SAU budget.
If nobody wants to do that, I can do that.
Okay.
I feel more comfortable with that one than Article 5 with the
Okay.
facilities maintenance trust.
Okay. Is there any interest in Article 5? Okay, I will take Article 5 again, because I do know we are a younger board. So Colleen will do the contract, I will do the operating budget. Colleen will do the SAU budget, and I will do the maintenance trust. The petition warrant articles are done by the moderator. And that's it for what I have, unless there's any other questions on the articles for deliberative session.
During the deliberative session for for the petition warrant articles, are we ever asked to speak on those, even though they're not ours?
People may ask you why you voted the way you did.
Okay.
They may ask you questions about, I'll give you the example with regard to the dues for the New Hampshire School Boards Association, what is the benefits to the board?
Yep.
Because in the article, it talks about lobbying, but they do provide a lot of trainings and different mechanisms and policy support. So it's more of those questions.
Okay.
And we do have the legal counsel available that night, as well as the SAU employees to help assist in any questions.
Okay, so I guess my only, then follow-up question to that is for Article 10, were we able to look up the past cost of the study so that, because that, knowing that that gets added to our budget, if that's something that we did, I would like to be able to state what that amount is, because then that either gets added to the budget or we lose things, right, if this were to pass. So, I'd like to know what that cost is since it's a previously done study.
I made a note and I'll
If
get
we
that.
could be armed with that,
Yep.
that'd be great.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, the cost, and we have the output still somewhere. I know,
Yep.
I don't know if we want to print a couple copies out and just have them available if anyone's interested in them there, or how we want to manage that. But I know we had talked at the deliberative session about potentially sharing that or adding it to a packet at some point too, again, just for people's awareness.
We still have the voter information guide that will go out.
Yeah.
There's potential that we could link the previous study so that people would at least be able to find it.
Okay. I would be in favor of that. Does anyone have a concern about that?
No, I'd be in favor of that. I'd also be in favor of including the SEL presentation from tonight. Because of warrant article, what is that, 9? I wouldn't be opposed to also providing that PowerPoint at the deliberative session. Or key highlights from it.
Okay.
Maybe not the whole thing, but
I think you're going to find that the public hearing that we went through, it's the same, everything you stated and heard question-wise will be the same as
Same
the
thing.
deliberative session. It's basically a preamble to that. It's just a little more official now because ultimately that's what we move forward with.
I figured. I think it just doesn't hurt though if people ask.
Oh, no,
why
no,
we
I just
voted
want
the
you
way
to
we
know
voted.
what's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it would be good though to yeah, I voted this way because here's the data, and then because you know they're gonna show up with data too. So I would just like to have it from our side to support the decisions we've made as a board.
Okay.
Would you guys like that presentation sent to you so you can edit it if you needed to, or are you good with just what's in the board packet?
No, you should go on the board packet, I think is fine. Thank you though. Appreciate it.
Sorry I can't be there. I've been more than happy to take on some of these.
Sure.
But I'm sorry that I won't be there, although,
We'll forgive you.
yeah.
I also will most likely be late, 'cause I'm in Boston that day, but I guess not having been at the hearing and not having the minutes from the hearing yet, I don't,
The minutes are available, you voted on it.
We just voted on, you abstained on them today, so they are. available.
from the public hearing.
The
Yeah.
public hearing was
January
January 10th.
10th.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So that's what you abstained on. So they are available now if you want to take a look at them. I'm happy to talk about anything with you if you want to on it
Okay.
offline or whatever.
The video is also posted if you want to hear just the presentation.
Okay.
There's nothing else, I'll, with the board permission?
Yep. All right, let's do it.
I'll move it over to Gina.
Okay, so it's that time of year again. We are looking to administer the exact same climate survey that we did a year ago, so we can see changes, positive or negative, in the climate with the staff here. So the intention would be to administer it in the exact same fashion prior to February break to all staff members.
Great.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't have anything else other than thumbs up. Good with that? All right. So we will move on to our deliberations now. So we have 5 policies. I will start by reading a motion and then it'll be on the floor and we can discuss in greater length. Bear with me, there's some, okay. So I'll make a motion to accept the third reading and adopt policy IHBA, Programs for Pupils with Disabilities.
I'll second.
We'll give that one to Allison. Okay, it's on the floor.
So I think the last 2 times that we had this policy before the board, there was concern about the third paragraph and the bulleted items, and the policy committee and Gina specifically brought this forward to our legal counsel, and it's correct the way that it is. It's just how it's written in the RSA. And so the policy committee didn't make any changes since the last meeting.
Okay. Ready to call it to a vote?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Make a motion to move to,
We're good, so it's on the floor. So all those in favor? 5-0, very good. So that is now adopted. All right, so our second one, I will make a motion to accept the second reading, waive the third, and adopt policy JLCJA, emergency plan for sports-related injuries and additional protocols for athletics participation.
second that.
Thanks.
So this, as you recall, is a required policy for schools for students in grades 4 through 12. And it's a policy we had not had before. And one of the things that was requested at the last board meeting was information on the number of CPR certified staff at each school. And I think Dan and Trish were going to bring that information to us tonight.
Currently at CSDA, we have several individuals, unfortunately, whose CPR training has just elapsed. So they're going to be conducting that. Right now, I have 8 currently certified at CSDA, and we have 5 that have completed the online training that's provided by Hollisbrook Ryan District, and they'll complete the in-person.
And at RMS, we have 16 that are trained.
That's awesome. That's great.
Are there any AFib devices on our campuses at all? I was wondering that.
And what?
AFib.
The AEDs, yeah, so if you're at RMS, there is one.
Yeah, okay.
It's in our central location, so if you're in the hallway by the Milford Street door and you look towards the gymnasium, so if you're at Milford Street looking towards the gymnasium, in the far hallway, there's a heart on a white cabinet. That's where the AED is in our building. And at CSC, I think there's 2.
This one. At CSDA, it's in the gym. If you go from the main foyer, the door to the right, you turn right, it's right on the wall there.
Thanks.
And that's also where the sports-related policy is.
Great. Hey,
Any other question? Yeah.
ready? Okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor? 5-0, very good. Okay, so that is adopted now. The third is, I will make a motion to accept the first paragraph, section D, so that the last sentence reads, the nursing area will be mutually agreeable to the nursing mother, the building administration, and the director of HR, and accept the second reading, waive the third, and adopt policy ACN, nursing mothers accommodations, as amended.
I'll second that.
I will just comment that the reason why we're kind of pushing a couple of these second and adopt is at this point, we shift to deliberative session and voting and then the board reorganization. So we thought it would make sense to kind of wrap some policy work up before the new board member is seated.
Seems
Makes
straightforward,
sense.
a lot of this. So we mentioned
And these were,
past
yeah,
questions,
we have
so-
been following this before the law was in place, so it doesn't really impact us in any way other than making it a policy.
I'm ready to vote on that.
Ready to vote on it, okay. Kelly, anything else you want to add, or are you good?
Nope, that's
Okay.
it.
All right, all those in favor? Okay, so that's 5-0 as well. All right, our fourth, I'll make a motion to accept the first reading of policy JCA, change of school or assignment, best interest, and manifest hardship as presented. Need someone to second that?
Oh, second. I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
I was actually looking at it, make sure I understood it. Sorry.
Over to you, Kelly, if you have anything on that one.
Yeah, so For the policy committee, our deliberations or our discussions were really about, in terms of determining whether or not there were other approved private schools within the district. When the language is public school, public academy, or approved private school in the district or in another district. And I think that we determined that there were not any other public schools, public academies, or approved private schools within the Brookline district. And so that was pretty much our deliberations about that. There is some changed language regarding just finds it's in the best interest of the student or does not find that it's in the best interest in number 2. Yeah, I think that this was pretty much, so this would be, if a student has a request beyond, classroom change.
So this is a required by law policy. We didn't have it before. But there was a change to the RSA recently, and that changes who basically gets to make the determination if the tuition is paid for. And so it is now in the purview of the school board to authorize that if, as opposed to the superintendent for a best interest, manifest is with the superintendent. So we didn't have it. We'd like to. It's required. So it's a first read.
Okay.
I feel like it's kind of a long one, and
Yeah.
so I think
So we're gonna
thought
take some-
I somehow didn't catch that this was a first reading, so I apologize, but I definitely would like to read it because is this coming from politically, where is this coming from, like the change in the law and the?
So the change in the law is just a small change.
Okay.
The huge shift of the best interest in manifest hardship came a few years ago. Our policy committee just didn't catch up and write the policy. So
So not a new law, but a change and it's the board as opposed to the
for a
superintendent.
best interest as opposed to the superintendent. So anyway, it's new. We were not intending to do first and adopt because it is so lengthy and brand new to the board. But, so there's plenty of time to read it. But we wanted to get it out there so we can get going on it.
Did I understand you right? You said the best interest, that the parents would pay the tuition, or is that taxpayer funded? If that were to be the case.
I can find it.
Oh, no, I can find it. I thought you said that, so I was, it just
No,
caught my.
So there are a couple of different things. So there's best interest, so you can argue that a change would be in the best interest of your child. And then there's a manifest educational hardship, which is a different sort of level of proof and evidence that's required. And so they're very similar processes, but there are slight differences. And whether or not the district is responsible for tuition varies based on if it's manifest hardship or best interest hardship.
Okay. Thanks. Any other questions tonight on this?
No, I think I want to read it.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely read it.
Okay, all those in favor then? 5-0, thanks. All right, our last one is I'll make a motion to accept the first reading of policy JLCF wellness as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. Colleen got that one.
Whatever.
So I think this was another rewrite of a policy that we had. I think also more to align with the wellness committee that the SAU holds, that has representatives from each of the school districts. And so this policy came to us from that committee.
And I believe, Colleen, do you sit on that committee, the wellness committee?
I do, yes.
Yep. So they brought forward these changes, and it's already in place in the Hollis School District and the co-op. And we had other policies that we prioritized in Brookline, so it's coming to you guys last. But the hope is that it's an SAU committee, and food service and all of that curriculum is SAU driven, so that we would just maintain the same committee. I'm sorry, the same policy that the committee put forward.
Makes sense.
Also lengthy
Yes.
policy.
So we're just accepting a first read.
First read tonight, yep. Okay, all those in favor of first read? Okay, 5-0, thanks. All right, we are down to non-public.
Which, before we do that, I just
Yep.
want to remind folks, deliberative session is February 7th. That serves as our board meeting in February, just to get that on your radar. And I'll send a reminder email out regarding that date, as well as the cancellation of the meeting on the 21st. And then we resume with our voting, and then after voting, the reorganization in March.
What time is that on the 7th?
6:30.
6:30.
I put on my calendar just now, that's why I know.
That's what I'm doing,
That's
right.
CSDA.
CSD. I knew
CSD,
that.
yeah.
The
Yep.
administration doesn't have a need for non-public.
I think we do though, right, Kelly, for
Superintendent
evaluation? You prepared to go over the superintendent evaluation tonight in the non-public?
I didn't know that was on the,
Okay.
no.
I'd like to call in non-public for legal. If that's possible.
With everyone or just the board that's not?
Just the board.
Just the board, okay. All right, so with that, so this is my last meeting then, so, thanks all.
Okay, so then,
So
yeah, we
that
can
just hit
discuss-
me too,
All
so
right, yeah,
that's the end
so,
of,
yeah.
all right.
Okay, so then, yes, non-public.
So we'll do a non-public here. I will make a motion that the board by roll call go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91A32, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, and 91A32C, to discuss a matter which if discussed in public would likely affect adversely the reputation of a person other than the member of the body or agency itself.
I'll second that.
All right, so we'll do a roll call. I'll start it. Ken, I.
Colleen, I.
Kelly, I.
Allison, I.
Tracy, aye.
Okay, so we are adjourned and in non-public at 7:05.